Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nails and Beauty Talk. I am your host, Asia the Bird. Today, I have a very special guest with us today. She's a designer, illustrator, and entrepreneur. Please welcome Sareka Unique. Hello, Sareka. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
You are most welcome. So, I want to go ahead and kick off this interview by asking, where are you originally from, and how did you get started into the realm of art?
I am originally from Detroit, Michigan, and I've been creative pretty much all of my life. But when I went to college, I actually went to college for computer science.
Mm,
And after my first couple semesters, I realized that that was not for me. That wasn't the side of the computer I wanted to be on. Um, so one of my counselors, she kind of just nudged me towards graphic design.
mm.
And I fell in love with graphic design at the time, and later realized how much I love illustration. So I kind of Illustrator was like my favorite program in college. So I was like, I want to use more of this. Um,
Mm.
and then from there, I just kind of things just kind of continued to progress, on the path. I maybe just a couple years ago, I was feeling the urge to paint like constantly, just like this nagging in me, like just do it, just do it. I was like, no, I'm not gonna paint. I'm
Right.
a designer. I'm a illustrator. I do digital stuff. I don't paint,
Mm.
physical. But I kind of gave into it, and then I just haven't stopped since.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. Now, I want to get into you attended Bowling University for visual communication. Now, with in terms of like illustration, how important is visual communication?
I think it's really important to be able, when you're working with different clients and companies, you want to be able to get their point across. Basically, all it is visual communicating a theme, a message visually. So I think it's really important to know how to communicate like a client's message in a way that's going to be eye-catching and pleasing, but still get the actual message across.
Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely agree with that because I went to SCAD, which is Savannah College of Art and Design, where I've
Okay.
learned about visual communication within illustration and understand how to convey a message.
Mhm.
And sometimes with art, it doesn't have to convey a specific message. It's just something to really view and to enjoy. So I think the whole thing about art is it can just communicate anything, whether you can relate to it or not. Now, I want to get into artists. So who are like your favorite artists? Like who are the artists that you look up to?
Right now, I've really been loving some Australian-based artists. They really have the bright colors and the vibe that I'm looking for. Jonathan Jimmel is one.
Mm,
Susan Nethercoat, I love her bright colors, her floral abstracts. Um, there's so many. Like, it's really hard to name. Leslie Granger, I love her abstract work. I've always been drawn to abstract work, but didn't think it was something that I myself could do.
mm.
Um, Coming from such a illustrative background and then going to abstract, it's like completely different. But at the
Mm.
same time, when I think about it earlier in my graphic design career, like I would sit and just doodle for hours, just random doodles, whatever,
Mm.
felt like would come out of me in different shapes and patterns. And so it kind of has always been there. I just didn't know how to get it out of me.
Mm. Yeah, that's kind of the same with me because I would just randomly doodle in school, like do like different drawings. And I got into art when I was like, I first got into when I was in second grade, when I was getting into art class. I was like, oh wow, this is so cool. And I didn't really take it seriously until my second year of high school. So that's when I really got more into art, and especially with nails. I got into nails like when I was like 13 or 14 years old. So, and it's really, really cool how, these things can just bounce into different things. It starts from one thing to the next thing, or how you said with graphic design, then you got into painting. So I think that's really, really absolutely cool. So I want to get into also switching gears and talking about Black Girls Illustrate, because you also create that platform for Black women and girls who do illustrations. So what made you decide to come up with this platform?
Well, I started getting into surface pattern design. And when I did that, I was taking a lot of online courses. I was interacting with a lot of people in the surface pattern design realm, and none of them looked like me. Like there
Mm,
was maybe one or two that I would come across in the surface pattern design world who had the same passion for illustration and design and putting their work on products. That was a that was a big thing. Um, so I went on a search on Instagram. I'm like, surely there's got to be, you know, a group on Instagram with more
mm,
Black girls illustrate, and I didn't find it. And I
wow.
was like, wait, I was searching hashtags and everything, and I couldn't find anything. So I was like, I'm gonna start it. So
Mm,
that I just kind of dove right in, and it's become this platform where I can amplify the voices of Black women artists and illustrators, because there's so many amazingly talented artists and illustrators, and they don't get the recognition, or they don't have the following.
mm.
So that was just, it started as a passion project for me, and it just kind of grew from there.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. And I like how you're promoting different Black female artists so they can get the recognition and like, hey, like your work is really, really cool. You should get your shine too. Because I think that's cool as a Black community. Now we're all supporting each other, especially in the creative field. So I think that's very important to support each other as Black artists and to have that and to maintain that representation.
Yes, most definitely, most definitely.
Yeah. So I want to get into your art style. Now, how could you describe your art style?
Uh, well, my paintings, they're very abstract, bold, um, happy. A lot of the colors I use a lot of neons and as bright as colors as I can get. I've done art shows, and like my friends who will help me out, they're like, everyone who just comes by, they just stop and smile. Like it's just so happy. So I guess that's that's one of the main, ways I could describe it.
hmm Yeah, I can definitely, agree to the abstract because I love the painting behind you. It's so colorful and just the way it flows. It has that essence of movement. So I love how with the pinks and the blues that you use, it brings that essence of
Thank you.
happiness and joy. So yeah, it makes me smile just looking at it.
And I don't know if I don't have too many paintings that don't have pink or at least teal in them. So those are my favorite kind of go-to colors. Um, so yeah, it just, I don't know, it just automatically happens. I try to avoid it a couple times, but I'm like, I'm just gonna go with it. If it's a little bit, I can't.
Yeah, yeah. So what has been like your favorite mediums to use when creating these like abstract paintings?
I mainly use acrylic. Every now and then I use gouache or acrylic gouache. Um, but acrylic has been my go-to.
Oh, that's really, really cool. Now, what is like your favorite brand to use? Like Liquitex or Blick type acrylic? Like what brand do you usually use?
I usually use golden mainly, but I also have used some Liquitex, the heavy body acrylics. I also like, when it comes to gouache, I like Holben's acrylic gouache and gouache, and Liquitex acrylic gouache is really been one of my key players lately too. I love the little tubes that they come in. It just
Mm.
makes it so much easier to use than than some of the other ones.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got into gouache so recently. I use Arteza gouache, and they come in these little tubes, this big set that you can get from Amazon. So those have been really cool. But yeah, like I'm into like acrylic paint, doing digital work, and especially using getting back into using Adobe Illustrator.
Mhm.
Because I used Adobe Illustrator in college and I stopped for a little bit because I now use Affinity Designer, but I'm getting back to the swing of using Illustrator. And I
Mhm.
want to talk about like pattern design. So what got you into making like your own patterns?
So I've always wanted my artwork on products, but I didn't really associate it with like, oh, this is the whole thing. You go into a store and then there's people's artwork on things.
Mm,
So actually, I was at a leadership conference, and I was kind of doodling the whole time, and I made this doodle, and and everyone was like, "You just did that with a matter of an hour of just sitting here," and then I ended up taking it into Illustrator, turning it into a pattern, and I was like, I like this. I want to do, I want to keep doing this, but I know nothing about, making patterns or surface pattern design or licensing my artwork. So
mm,
I went on a Google deep dive, and I found courses and classes. I actually found a competition for, I think it was like the art of surface and pattern design class.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a week left to enter. So I entered my little doodle into the contest. I didn't win. Like looking back at it now, I was like, no wonder I didn't win. It was so but I decided to purchase one of the classes. I couldn't pay for the whole suite of courses, but I did the what is it? It was like pricing and selling your artwork or something like that. And so
Mm-hmm.
I entered that course, and then it just kind of kicked off from there. I kind of learned, I already knew how to use the software. So
Mm-hmm.
that part I kind of had down, I kind of honed in on my own, and, you can go to YouTube University for that
Right.
and, learning the software techniques, anything that I needed to brush up on. But it was very key in helping me learn like the licensing side and how to promote your work and sell your work and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely want to jump and switch gears and talk about the business aspect of owning an art business. So I want you to talk about like your experience of owning an art business, but also just how important it is for someone to sell and market their work.
I think it's really it's super important to market your work and market yourself, because a lot of people like buying artwork from people. They
Mm-hmm.
connect with the person and then they connect with the art, especially when it comes to abstract work.
Mm-hmm.
um I think for me, when I took those courses, like I immediately jumped into doing trade shows and whatnot, but I hadn't really built a brand or a name for myself. And so I realized like a lot of people, when they're licensing your work, it's almost like a partnership in a lot of ways. Like people want to know that you're bringing a certain thing to the table as well as them. A lot of the brands that I wanted to work with anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, I really need to start, really building a following. I need to start getting my work out there more and showing it to people. So that's kind of what I did, especially because I didn't want to, when I was making patterns, I didn't want to do the everyday Christmas patterns or
Mm-hmm.
the Eastery patterns. That wasn't my style. So I really wanted to do things my own way. So
Right.
I kind of just had to just stay in my own lane, just do what I create, the work that I wanted to create, and just keep putting it out there. All the while I had a full-time job. I was doing that for maybe about 5 or 6 years. Um, and I recently got enough like freelance work from illustration and designs to eventually leave my full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that in June, and it's been a roller coaster ever since. I mean, it has its ups and downs, but I'm so excited and blessed that I had the opportunity to be able to, you know,
Mm-hmm.
work for myself full time now. But it's been great, and one of the keys is the following that I have on Instagram. A lot of the opportunities that I've had aren't necessarily ones that I've searched out, but there are a lot of people who have found me, like, oh, we saw your work on Instagram. We
Mm-hmm.
saw you in this directory that you signed up for. We saw you in this blog post, and then a lot of the work and stuff that I get comes from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really, really cool. Now I want to get into like you do like your own patterns on fabric. So what are
Mhm.
some sites you can recommend for someone who wants to take their patterns or surface design patterns and put it on the fabric?
The main one I use is Spoonflower. I definitely recommend them. They're great people. They love supporting their artists. The fabric, they have a huge range of fabrics. Um, and they love working with their artists, supporting their artists as much as they can, supporting designers, connecting artists with designers who buy, those fabrics. So definitely Spoonflower is a big one for me.
All right. Yeah, I've heard of Spoonflower and a lot of people use that. So I can definitely agree that, especially my surface design teacher told us about Spoonflower and, how you can make these patterns and put on the fabric. So that's really, really cool. Now I want to get into stationery. So you also do like t-shirts, greeting cards and things of that nature. So how did you get into doing like stationery type, products?
Okay. Well, I used to work at a print shop for about 7 years. And when I was there, I was always cutting up paper. When it's slow, I'm like, I'm gonna bind this this little booklet that I made myself. I'm gonna laminate this. So I've always been into notebooks, stationery, making my own. And so it was like something that was like a no-brainer for me that I wanted to sell with my own products. I even have some really old ones that I would just print it out on color paper, fold it all together, booklet, staple it in the middle, and like, here we go. So I had to get into that. It's really hard finding manufacturers that helps with your bottom line. One of the main ones I like to use is Art of Wear. They do drop shipping. Drop shipping is my friend. It's one of my best friends. So, it was just a no-brainer for me in doing shows and pop-ups. They're good I kind of did that before I started getting into painting. So when I already had my patterns and my designs, I would just put them on whatever I can find and then do different shows and pop-ups and events.
Now I want to get into pricing. Like, how does one go about pricing their artwork?
When it goes to pricing my paintings, I kind of use the square foot model. So I go by square inch model. So I go by, like, if it's a 24 by 36, 24 times 36 times whatever price you're at. So you might start at 75 cents a square inch. You might start at $1 and just kind of, fill whatever you feel comfortable with.
Now, I want to get into, in terms of just the progression of art, what is your whole take of the progression of art and like where it's going?
I think over the past couple of years, I've seen it really change a lot. I love that there is a bit more inclusion. I mean, there needs to be a lot more, but I kind of see that starting a bit more, and people kind of stepping outside of the box and not creating such commercially type artwork, but kind of doing things that are more real, I guess you could say. Or there's more people, which brings so many different more perspectives, and all these perspectives are starting to be viewed now, with the help of social media. It's like you don't have to only see what's in galleries now, or what you see in the museum, which not a lot of women artists or Black artists in general you see work in a lot of these museums and galleries and stuff now. So I think there's a lot of people working towards getting more inclusion in those areas. So I think it's going in the right path. It needs to go a little quicker, I think, but
right, yeah,
but it's getting there. It's getting there.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And it's so cool to see like where art has been going, and is actually there's people that's getting into NFTs. And it's pretty interesting with that. So do you know anything about NFTs possibly?
I know a little bit about it. I was like, when I first started hearing chatter about it, I was on a Clubhouse craze. And so I was in all the Clubhouse rooms about NFTs. So I do know a little bit about it. I don't want to be left behind. I want to be knowledgeable and to be able to help other people if I can, in that area. It's not something I've delved into. I can't say that I won't, but it's a possibility. But we'll see how it goes in the future. I think it's really interesting. I love the fact that you're forever tied to your artwork.
Right.
So that if someone else decides to sell it, you're still going to get a percentage of that sale. That versus in the real world, if someone, once someone buys your painting, it's pretty much out of your hands. You don't, if they sell it again, you don't get a part of that. So I think it's interesting.
Yeah. I find it very interesting too. And it's pretty new. So I'm thinking like it's been around since like once it hit, the brand new decade of, the 2020s. So it's pretty fresh and new. And a lot of people are, talking about it, doing research about it, and also talking about crypto. So I think, the conversations are really, really cool. And, I think a lot of people are going to jump on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity because it's so new. So there is definitely a lot of opportunity and so many different things that you can do. when it comes to that space and this whole new metaverse or whatever it
Yeah,
is
right.
that we're gonna be in the future here, or now it's happening. And I
Yeah.
think if you're not really interested in doing it, I think it's worth it to at least learn about it so that
Mhm.
you kind of know what's going on.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true. I want to go ahead and talk about collaboration. So what has been your experience working with other people and collaborating with other people, and how does one gain access to people to collaborate with?
Um, my experience with collaborations it's been pretty surprising, I guess I would say would be one. A lot of the collaborations I've had aren't things that I've reached out to. It's often people who have seen my work on Instagram, or I've signed up for directories. Like there's a directory called Women Who Draw.
Mhm.
I've been featured in blog posts from like Spoonflower. I have artwork there. So a lot of it is people who have seen me other places and then have contacted me.
Mhm.
I mean, it's definitely a blessing. And I think it's just all part of my path. I try to keep more focused on doing the work that I know I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
And then the collaborations have come from that.
Mhm.
So I had the honor of collaborating with YouTube, Vans. Um, those are just a couple. There's some art and sciences.
Mhm.
There's just to name a few, but I think sometimes just focusing on what you know you're supposed to be doing, as people can see your passion and your creativity. um I think they'll find you. If you're putting yourself out there, people will find you.
Mhm.
um but you have to put yourself out there. You have to make yourself open. You have to do interviews. You have to do
Right.
blog posts, guest blog posts, interviews, be on directories. I'm working on a directory for Black Girls Illustrate. I've been working on it for the longest, off and on. It's hard because I'm the only person doing it.
Oh, right.
But directories like that, I think, helps a lot. So when they have this thing, they're like, okay, we're doing this. We need to find this person. And once they start searching, they need to be able to find you. So I think that's super important, because your art may not be a fit for everything in the moment.
Right.
But if you keep doing what you're doing, once that moment comes, you want people to be able to find you.
Right. That's most important. So I want to get into like art classes. Do you offer any art class for people that want to get into art?
I don't, not currently. I've been asked a lot, and it's something I've been pondering, over my head how to do it. I'm probably like way overthinking it. But it is something that I've thought about doing in the future. I did a tutorial with Spoonflower that's on YouTube, on how to create repeating patterns in Procreate. So that was kind of like a little test in the water. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I want to ask like this question. How would you define success in your perspective?
Oh man. Success, I would say for me, is being able to do what is authentic to yourself
Mm,
and continue to make a living from it. Like continue to live and thrive, and just being able to create the work that is authentic to you.
mhm. Yeah, I could definitely agree with that. You do what makes you happy, and plus
Mhm.
take care of yourself while you're doing things that make
Right,
you happy.
exactly.
Because self-care is very important. And I like how with us now, especially in social media and TikTok, they're talking a lot about mental health and how important it is to take care of yourself and take care of mental health. So that's really, really cool to see.
Most definitely, most definitely. You have to being a creator, you have to really fill your cup, because you're pouring out all the time. You're creating and creating and creating all the time. So you have to take time to pour back into yourself,
Hmm.
take breaks, take adventures, do the things that just make you happy and fill up your cup so that you continue to grow and you can continue to pour into others, pour into your artwork. And
Mm-hmm.
you can't, like they say, you can't pour from an empty cup. So even with
Right.
creating, if you don't have any inspiration, if you're not feeding yourself with things that inspire you, then you might not find yourself able to create easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, most definitely. Now, how do you balance work and everyday life?
Well, when I was at my full-time job, it was really hard. Like I was doing a little bit of everything. Now I've kind of taken a step back from doing as much as I was when I was working. Now that I'm able to do my artwork full time, I kind of just try to make my own schedule, but not try to push myself in to directions that, like, I know I'm not going to get up at like 7 a.m. in the morning, because that's never been the type of person I have. I did that maybe when I had my full-time job, but
Mm-hmm.
in my creative career, I rather paint from like 2 a.m. to like 3 or 4 in the morning than get up at like 8 a.m. So I give myself a lot of grace. But also having a set schedule and sticking to that schedule allows me more free time so that I can
Mm-hmm.
turn it off from like, okay, family time or just hanging out. It's going to be like from 6 p.m. to 10 or 5 to 10. So then I have that break to kind of just relax, not working on the weekends all the time. It took me a while to get used to not doing that, because that was like my biggest gap of time when I was working full time, is to work on the weekends. And so now I can like go hang out with my friends, saying yes to my friends, saying yes to those relationships that matter to me, and
Mm-hmm.
just taking more time for that instead of just work all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And last but not least, where can people find you on social media and how can people support your work?
Yeah, I'm Sareka Unique on Instagram, Facebook, pretty much all platforms. And then you can go to my website, is sarekaunique.com. There's artwork, original artwork, prints, notebooks, leggings, phone cases, pillows, basically anything,
Everything.
everything you can think of.
Well, thank you so much, Sareka, for jumping onto the show. Your work is absolutely incredible. I love the bright colors, the consistent bright color palettes. It's so joyful and so like just so cool. Just how the way you just do those brush strokes. It's really, really cool to see. And it's really also amazing to see that you're promoting other Black artists and illustrators. And it's absolutely amazing. So thank you so much for jumping onto the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great talking to you. I love your platform and all your interviews. I've been binge watching them, and you've got some great content. I love it.
Thank you so much. We'll take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to click the bell for notifications. Also, follow me on my social media platforms and visit my website, asiaticbird.com, and be on the lookout for more interviews to come very soon. Take care and stay beautiful.